Welcome to Voyage Daily Tech, the most important news personalized for you every day, supported by Voyage.com.
After listening to today's news, you'll know first, UK AI startup Synthesia hits $4 billion valuation with backing from rivals Nvidia and Google, carving out Europe's enterprise AI niche. We'll analyse why this rival co-investment is a turning point and how it could affect the competitive dynamics of the AI application layer. Second, Nevada slashes a 6-week clinical trial process to just 2 hours using AI, transforming the unsexy stuff of drug development. So we'll discuss why this acceleration matters and what it means for the race to own the massive data sets that power these AI models. Third, an 11.5% AI productivity boost leads to an 8% job loss in the UK, a unique economic storm not seen in the US. We'll analyse why this divergence is a turning point for the UK and how it could affect its ambition to become a global AI superpower. Fourth, Samsung's HBM4 memory breakthrough for Nvidia's next-gen AI platform signals a major power shift in the high-stakes chip supply chain. In this episode, we'll break down Samsung's comeback and what it signals for the highly concentrated HBM market and the future of AI hardware. Fifth, Mark Zuckerberg takes the stand in a landmark trial as Meta's addictive platform design faces its first-ever jury over youth mental health. We'll analyse why this bellwether case is a turning point and how it could establish a legal precedent for holding platforms liable for their designs. The most unexpected news in the tech world today has to be this. Two of the biggest rivals in the AI war, Nvidia and Alphabet, just backed the exact same company. A while back, we looked at how xAI tightened a vendor-investor loop with Nvidia and Cisco to secure supply, while OpenAI moved the other way, diversifying silicon to avoid being boxed into a single stack. The latest development is both rivals aligning not at the chip layer, but at the application layer to shape where the next wave of compute demand will originate. However, if you zoom out, you'll see another layer of strategy at play. This isn't just a random investment. Nvidia, through its venture arm Inventures, wants to fuel demand for its powerful GPUs. By backing a company like Synthesia that needs a ton of computing power, they're essentially creating a future customer for their own hardware. On the other side, you have Google's venture arm, GV, which wants to ensure that the most innovative AI applications are built on and integrated with its cloud platform and foundational models. So for both of them, it's a way to secure a key player in the application layer of the AI stack. We previously analysed how real-time performance becomes a growth flywheel. This kind of bet primes that loop. Inventures accelerates GPU demand, while GV keeps optionality on models and cloud. Echoing the parallel track strategy we talked about with OpenAI, they're part of a massive $200 million funding round that just shot a British AI startup named Synthesia to a $4 billion valuation. That's nearly double its price tag from just 1 year ago. So what does Synthesia do to command that kind of cash? It develops AI video generation tools for enterprises, aiming to completely change how organizations create content for internal and external communications. And here's its secret weapon: a laser focus on enterprises. In a world worried about deepfakes, Synthesia is building a defensible moat based on trust and security. They offer compliance with standards like SOC2 and GDPR, which is exactly what big corporations need to see before they let an AI tool create videos of their executives or for their training materials. The company also has a very strict acceptable use policy and a dedicated trust and safety team, which is critical for preventing misuse. But this isn't just about one company. It's a glimpse into the absolute feeding frenzy happening in AI. To put it in perspective, Europe's AI startups raised a record $21.4 billion in private funding in 2025, but US companies pulled in a staggering $162.7 billion that same year, with just 3 companies, OpenAI, Anthropic, and xAI, raising around $70 billion of that. Continuing our last discussion about the industry's ferocious appetite for compute, this flood of capital is also about buying speed and capacity because faster systems drive higher value workloads. But Synthesia isn't just scaling up. CEO Victor Riparbelli says this is about evolving AI video into something entirely new. The company is pouring the funds into so-called agentic capabilities, which will allow users to interact with the AI-generated videos in real time. We've been saying for a while that real time isn't a feature, it's a flywheel. Synthesia is explicitly chasing that So, what does agentic capabilities actually mean? It means the AI is no longer just a puppet that recites a script you type. It becomes an active participant. Synthesia is moving from a simple text-to-video generator to an interactive AI agent platform. The goal is to create immersive, personalized training simulations. Now, get this. The biggest challenge is avoiding what's called the conversational uncanny valley. That's the unsettling feeling you get when an AI is almost human, but not quite. Making these AI role-play scenarios feel natural and engaging rather than creepy and robotic is the multi-billion-dollar problem they're trying to solve. And as we noted, when OpenAI spelled out its growth logic, when AI responds in real time, users do more with it, stay longer, and run high-value workloads. Synthesia's bet is that bringing that dynamic into video will unlock a new class of enterprise use cases. Imagine employees exploring scenarios through roleplay instead of just passively watching training materials. This has turned Synthesia into a major UK success story, with politicians like UK Chancellor of the Exchequer, Rachel Reeves, calling it proof that innovators can start, scale, and stay in the UK. And this UK success story points to a broader trend revealing Europe's likely strategy in the global AI race. Instead of trying to compete head-on with US giants on building massive, compute-hungry foundational models, Europe seems to be focusing on dominating high-value, specialized enterprise applications. Think of it as a niche champion strategy. They're leveraging their strengths in specific industries and a regulatory environment like the EU AI Act that emphasizes ethical and trustworthy AI. A few days ago, we also walked through hardware alternatives like Cerebrus's wafer-scale engine radical designs aimed at raw speed and low latency. For application players like Synthesia, whichever silicon wins matters less than harnessing that speed safely inside enterprise workflows. It's a clear signal that they are serious about competing on the global AI stage. And the numbers show this isn't just hype. Synthesia has already hit $150 million in annual recurring revenue, and its CFO expects the company to pass the $200 million mark sometime in 2026. This shows real sustainable growth. But the $4 billion question remains, can they maintain this edge? As powerful video models, like OpenAI's Sora, become more accessible, the risk is that the underlying technology becomes a commodity. We previously analysed how giants are pushing overwhelming computational force and running parallel silicon tracks. If the base layers converge, Synthesia's moat has to be trust, interactivity, and deep enterprise integration, exactly the pieces they're doubling down on to stay ahead of platforms that can bolt on similar features. From a multi-billion-dollar valuation, let's turn to a revolution happening in a completely different sector, but driven by the same AI engine, pharmaceuticals. A process that takes drug companies up to 6 weeks was just accomplished in a single 2-hour meeting. That's what happened at the pharmaceutical giant Novartis. They used AI to select sites for a massive 14,000-person clinical trial, condensing weeks of work into the length of a movie. But here's where it gets interesting. How do these AI models define a high-performing site? The risk, and it's a serious one, is that the AI could amplify historical biases. If the data it's trained on shows that sites in wealthier, less diverse areas have historically enrolled patients faster, the AI might just double down on that, excluding communities that are already underrepresented in clinical trials. The American Medical Association has warned about this, pointing out that biased algorithms can lead to drugs that aren't tested on a truly representative population, and they are not alone. While everyone is waiting for AI to discover the next miracle cure, the real revolution is happening behind the scenes in what one CEO calls the unsexy stuff. Bringing a new drug to market can take a decade and cost $2 billion. A huge chunk of that is spent on tedious manual work. So, what is this tedious manual work we're talking about? We're talking about jobs like clinical research associates and medical writers. Now, with what experts are calling agentic AI, you have AI systems that can autonomously manage workflows, monitor for compliance, and even draft initial reports. This doesn't mean those jobs disappear, but they are changing fast. The new role becomes human in the loop, someone who oversees the AI, validates its work, and handles the strategic decisions the machine can't. But now, companies are unleashing AI on this problem. British drug maker GSK used AI to speed up its clinical trials, saving nearly $11 million on studies for just one asthma drug. The technology is being used to fix what insiders call drug development's messy middle. It's finding trial participants, drafting thousands of pages of regulatory documents, and converting long reports into FDA-ready templates, saving weeks of work for entire teams. Believe it or not, it's not just the drug companies using AI. The regulators are getting ready too. The FDA has already reviewed over 500 drug submissions that involved AI since 2016. They've even released draft guidance on how they will assess and validate these AI-generated reports, which shows this isn't science fiction. The entire system, from the lab to the regulator's desk, is being rewired for AI. This is the new battleground. One McKinsey report predicts AI could increase clinical development productivity by as much as 45% over the next 5 years. This isn't just a theory. Companies from AstraZeneca and Pfizer to smaller biotechs are all in. And this is where the real competitive advantage is shifting. It's not just about the patent on a drug anymore. It's about the data. Think about it. Companies like Pfizer have decades of historical clinical trial data to train their AI models on, giving them a massive head start. So how do smaller biotechs compete? They're getting creative, using strategies like federated learning, where multiple companies can train a shared AI model without ever revealing their own private data. It's a fascinating new arms race where data is the new gold, but this all begs the question, what about the ultimate prize, a drug actually discovered by AI? Well, Amgen's research chief just dropped a bombshell. He said, what everybody's waiting for is the AI drug. When do I get the AI drug? I actually think those molecules are in pipelines right now. So what does an AI drug in the pipeline actually look like? Well, the situation presents a fascinating duality. On one side, you have companies like Google's Isomorphic Labs, which uses its famous AlphaFold technology to predict the 3D structure of proteins from scratch. It's a deep science approach. On the other side, you have companies like Recursion Pharmaceuticals, which run millions of automated lab experiments and then use AI to find patterns in that massive real-world data. It's two different paths to the same goal, and the race is on to see which one gets there first. We were just talking about AI accelerating productivity, but that efficiency boost can have a much darker side, especially when it comes to the job market. Let's start with a single statistic that might just change your entire perspective on AI's economic impact. While the US and UK both see an 11.5% productivity boost from AI, the results couldn't be more different. In the US, AI is creating jobs. In the UK, it's causing a net job loss of 8%, the highest rate among major economies like Japan, Germany, and Australia. So why the huge difference? According to the research, the divergence is influenced by factors like labour market flexibility and tax policies. The UK's labour market is more rigid and has higher employment costs. This means it's more expensive for a company to hire someone, which can make them hesitate. In contrast, the US has a more flexible labour market, which might be helping it create new jobs alongside AI's productivity gains. This isn't just a simple technology story. It suggests a unique storm is brewing over the British job market, where the rise of AI is colliding with the pressure of higher costs and taxes. The result? A squeeze on hiring that is hitting the workforce hard. You see, a key factor here is the recent increase in national insurance contributions for employers. This change has increased the financial burden on businesses, making some consider reducing staff to manage costs. It creates a situation where companies get the efficiency boost from AI, but are discouraged from reinvesting those gains into hiring more people. And this is where the situation takes a more complex turn. The jobs being cut are not random. The research shows companies are most likely to eliminate early career positions, the very roles for people with 2 to 5 years of experience. This is a direct threat to the future of our workforce. One recent study found that 18% of UK employers have already made these exact kinds of mid-level roles redundant due to automation. And that's a huge problem because these jobs are the crucial second step on the career ladder. They are where people gain the essential experience needed to become senior leaders. If we automate this entire rung away, we risk a massive talent pipeline problem down the road. This is fueling real anxiety, with over a quarter of UK workers now worried their jobs could disappear completely within 5 years. Younger workers, especially Gen Z, are the most concerned. This isn't a distant threat. It's happening now, and it's hitting the heart of the economy. The Mayor of London, Sadiq Khan, has issued a stark warning that AI could destroy swathes of jobs in the capital and usher in a new era of mass unemployment. He points directly at London's reliance on white-collar workers in finance, law, and consulting, arguing that entry-level and junior jobs will be the first to go. And here's the incredible irony in all of this. This is all happening while the UK government is publicly aiming to be a global AI superpower, even hosting the Global AI Safety Summit. But the data shows a real disconnect. While the ambition is there, only 9% of UK companies have successfully scaled up their AI initiatives, and public trust is shaky, with nearly twice as many Britons seeing AI as an economic risk than as an opportunity. This all begs the question, what's the real end game here? JP Morgan's boss, Jamie Dimon, told the World Economic Forum that governments and businesses must step in to help displace workers, or they risk civil unrest. For the UK, the data shows that while AI is delivering on its promise of productivity, it's coming with the heavy price of job displacement, creating an economic challenge unlike that of its global rivals. So what are the options on the table? This is where the debate gets really intense. Some have proposed an automation tax on companies that replace workers with AI, but critics warn this could scare away investment and make the UK less competitive. Others are looking at state-funded reskilling programs or even universal basic income, or UBI, to provide a safety net. The choice the UK makes now will define its economic future and social stability for decades to come. Speaking of a country's AI ambitions, you can't be a superpower without the hardware. And in the high-stakes race to power the AI boom, a major power shift is happening right now. Samsung is reportedly set to start production of its next-generation HBM4 memory chips next month, with plans to supply them directly to the king of AI, Nvidia. A while back, we broke down how SK Hynix sat on top of this market, validated first on HBM3E for Nvidia, and racing ahead with a $12.9 billion K-chips-backed factory to lock in leadership. The latest development is Samsung moving from catch-up to shipment-ready on HBM4 and for Nvidia. So why are these chips so important? Well, HBM, or high bandwidth memory, is the absolute lifeblood of modern AI. Think of it like a super fast highway connecting the AI processor to its memory. The wider and faster that highway, the more data can flow and the more powerful the AI becomes. HBM4 is a revolution because it dramatically widens that highway to a 2048-bit interface. We're talking about a potential bandwidth of over 2 terabytes per second. That's enough to enable new types of AI models that are currently impossible due to memory bottlenecks. And as we mentioned a while back, the other half of the story is advanced packaging. TSMC's capacity has been stretched, so any newly qualified HBM supply lands with outsized impact. This is a direct shot at Samsung's crosstown rival, SK Hynix, which has been the primary supplier of these crucial chips for Nvidia's AI accelerators. For months, Samsung has been seen as trying to catch up after supply delays hit its bottom line. Now, that narrative is changing fast. We previously noted SK Hynix's commanding position around a 61% share while Samsung and Micron trailed. Today's move is about closing that gap where it matters most, Nvidia's next platform. Now, what many people don't know is why Samsung was playing catch-up in the first place. It comes down to Nvidia's qualification process, which is an absolute gauntlet. It's a series of brutal tests for thermal performance, power efficiency, and reliability. As we flagged before, competitors often stumbled here, and Samsung's earlier chips reportedly struggled, particularly with heat and power consumption issues. This was partly due to their manufacturing method. In response, Samsung reportedly reassigned 2,000 engineers and adopted a new manufacturing technique, the same one that gave SK Hynix its edge. That massive effort is what's paying off right now. The market reacted instantly to the news. Samsung shares climbed over 2%, while its main competitor, SK Hynix, saw its shares drop nearly 3%. This isn't just a rumor, it's a move with immediate financial consequences, signaling a potential shakeup in the multi-billion-dollar AI supply chain. Continuing our last discussion about concentration risk, the tape is telling you the market is starting to reprice that dominance. This whole situation is so significant because the entire AI industry has been dangerously dependent on this South Korean duopoly. Between them, SK Hynix and Samsung have controlled the vast majority of the HBM market. It's a situation very similar to the world's reliance on Taiwan for advanced chip manufacturing. So when one of these giants makes a move on the other, the shockwaves are felt everywhere. It also opens the door for other players, like the US-based Micron, which has been making its own significant strides to break into this exclusive club. Remember, we also talked about the packaging bottleneck and how SK Hynix has been building its own advanced packaging to bypass TSMC. So Samsung's push isn't just more chips, it's pressure on every choke point in the pipeline. What really brought this to a head was the next development. Reports indicate Samsung has passed qualification tests not just for Nvidia, but for its competitor AMD as well. This suggests a broad, aggressive strategy to reclaim market share. This comes just after Nvidia's CEO Jensen Huang confirmed the company's next generation Vera Rubin platform is in full production and will be paired with these very HBM4 chips. This pairing is so critical because the Vera Rubin platform is specifically designed to take advantage of HBM4's incredible power. With that massive memory bandwidth, Rubin will be able to run larger, more complex AI models with greater efficiency. This co-evolution of the processor and the memory is what unlocks the next level of artificial intelligence. SK Hynix previously stated it had completed its supply talks for the year, but Samsung's move throws that into question. This isn't just about one contract. It's a battle for dominance, and it's arriving sooner than many expected. A while back, we talked about SK Hynix's plan to lap the competition with that new government-backed fab, Samsung's HBM4 timeline, directly test that plan. What's truly fascinating is how Samsung is waging this battle. Reports suggest they aren't planning to undercut SK Hynix on price. Instead, they're aiming for price parity, competing purely on the quality of their technology and their ability to deliver. This is a high-stakes bet on their own comeback, signaling that the demand for these chips is so strong that a price war isn't even necessary. And don't forget, governments are in this too, Seoul's K-chips push and Washington's chips agenda. So this isn't just corporate maneuvering, it's industrial policy colliding on the AI memory front. The fight to supply the most critical component for artificial intelligence just hit a new level. Samsung, once seen as playing catch-up, is now making a direct play to fuel the biggest names in the industry, challenging SK Hynix's leadership in a high-stakes race to build the future of technology. We've been talking a lot about the hardware supply chain, but let's shift our focus to the software layer, where the companies building on that hardware are facing a legal reckoning for their designs. Mark Zuckerberg is about to take the witness stand, and it's not for another congressional hearing. This is a full-blown courtroom battle, and it's a first. The social media giants Meta, TikTok, and YouTube are officially on trial, facing explosive allegations that their platforms are fueling a youth mental health crisis. This is the bellwether case, the one that could change everything. The lawsuit was brought by a 19-year-old woman who claims she became addicted to the apps at a young age, alleging their attention-grabbing designs directly led to her depression and suicidal thoughts. The case actually hinges on proving the platform's very design is negligent. And thanks to internal Meta documents, we have a glimpse into why. One report showed that for 1 in 3 teen girls with body image issues, Instagram made them feel worse. Despite knowing this, the company allegedly delayed safety features because they were afraid it would reduce how much time teens spent on the app. This is the kind of evidence plaintiffs will use to argue the company's knowingly prioritized engagement over well-being. For the first time ever, these tech giants have to defend their products in front of a jury. As the plaintiff's attorney put it, they will be under a level of scrutiny that does not exist when you testify in front of Congress. And the plot is already thickening. Snap, another defendant in the case, just agreed to settle its part of the lawsuit right before the trial began. Snap's decision to settle is a big deal as it signals a major strategic split. Why would they pay up while the others fight? It might be because some of Snapchat's core features, like streaks, which reward users for daily interaction, are especially vulnerable in court. Research shows these streaks can create compulsive behavior and anxiety in teens who feel pressured to maintain them. By settling, Snap avoids a risky trial and prevents potentially damaging internal data about these features from ever seeing the light of day. Now, the remaining companies are gearing up for war. Meta has hired the same lawyers who represented a major corporation during the opioid crisis litigation. At the same time, they are launching a massive public relations effort, partnering with groups like the National PTA and the Girl Scouts to promote safety features and convince parents their products are safe. Interestingly enough, this strategy is straight out of the big tobacco playbook. Historically, industries facing a public health crisis have used these exact tactics. They sponsor educational programs and launch PR campaigns to portray themselves as responsible partners, all while fighting regulation behind the scenes. Critics call this reputation laundering, and it raises serious questions about whether these partnerships are about genuine safety or just managing public perception. This is the ultimate test case. The jury will decide if these platforms were negligent and if their very design was a substantial factor in the plaintiff's harm. The outcome will set a landmark precedent on whether social media companies can be held liable for the alleged addictive nature of their products. And that's going to be an incredible legal challenge. Proving that an app was a substantial factor in causing depression is immensely difficult. The defense will argue that many other things could be to blame, from school to peer pressure to offline events. The jury has to untangle all of this. It's a legal conundrum that forces the court to decide how to assign blame for psychological harm when there are so many complex interacting causes. This is truly uncharted territory.
That's it for today on Voyage Daily Tech. Follow, share, and stay tuned for daily updates coming your way tomorrow.